The topic that I like to share, if you read from the title, from the banner or the card, oh, that's such a huge topic, right? Buddha's predictions about the future. I'm not sure if I'm gonna disappoint you, because actually there's nothing about COVID-19, or maybe you were looking forward to the prediction about the end of the world or something like that, right? Because the story that I'm about to share with you, this is a story of a dream, okay? A dream, but very interesting dream. Actually, during the Buddha's time, there was a king, and his name is Parsen Nadi, or if you actually are very used to the Thai languages, that's gonna be Prasen Tikoson. He was a very great king, and he supported many monks and also helped to make temples and so on in Buddhism during his time. Okay, so one day he had a strange dream, but we cannot use the word a strange dream because there were about 16 stories in a row. Have you ever dreamed about 16 things in a row? Have anyone ever dreams about so many things before? So from his dreams, he got really afraid because some of them were very strange. The stories that he had in the dreams, actually, he could not find any connection to his life, his time, and to that particular moment during the Buddha's time at all. So he went to ask different people, and what they gave him as suggestions is he needed to hold a sacrifice ceremony that will like to kill a lot of animals and to sacrifice and to you know for the sake of worshiping God or something like that. So that was the recommendation that he gave. But because his wife actually is also a Buddhist, and his wife said, don't do that just yet. Maybe you should also ask the Buddha about your dream. Okay, so he went to ask the Buddha about the dream. And actually, the Buddha made quite a few predictions. For example, he also predicted about his death before his death. Okay, so he, for example, 3 months before dying, he already predicted about his death. So he made quite a few predictions about people's life, but there were as well a few predictions about future, and this future is like long into 1,000 years to follow. There were quite a few written in the Tripitaka. Okay, so today I'm gonna share one story with you. But since these are about 16 stories, maybe we don't have time to cover all of them. Maybe we can cover some of them. Okay, so let's see. It's very interesting because I usually like to think on behalf of people in the past. It's like, what if I were a man in the past? What would I think about the future to 2,500 years from then? Okay, because we probably try to think about maybe the future, what's going to happen to the world maybe 100 years from now. But what would people in the past see the world 2,500 years later? So that's how this story can be interesting and maybe can be relevant to us. Okay, so the Buddha started the prediction about his future, that all the dreams that he had that night, 16 stories in a row, they wouldn't happen in his time, but these dreams are going to happen in the future. Okay, and he already specifying that the future, that these dreams are going to happen, the world or many countries will be ruled by bad leaders. Okay, so we talked about bad leaders few days ago. Do you remember, right? We talked about how having a bad leader or having a bad ruler will result in a eventually climate change, and the Buddha talked about this in Attamika Sutra, right? So he assured the king Pasenadi that those dreams were not gonna happen very soon, not in your life, but in the future, when the world and some countries were governed. So this is gonna happen in a land with a bad leader. So that's the first thing that the Buddha talked about. And then what about the dreams? So the dreams, the first one, okay, was about 4 strong oxen from the north, east, south, and west. They come to fight against one another in front of a king. But when they were about to fight, they retreated. Okay. Suppose that you had this dream, maybe you're not gonna think about it that much, right? But it sounds very strange because when several oxen will fight each other, they eventually come to the fight. They eventually will fight each other. But why these oxen did not fight each other? So the king had this question in mind. So the Buddha made prediction that when bad people lead, or when we had bad ruler, the dark clouds come to rain, but only thunders can be heard. And this climate actually destroys certain crops and lead people to starve. So if you remember, when I talk about how the mind is related to climate change a few days ago, we also had this connection when the mind of people can maybe influence indirectly, but eventually leading to what we describe as climate change. Okay, so that's the first dream. The second one is the king was very curious because in his dream, young plants are bearing fruits. You have a very small tree, like once you plant an apple seed, then you're gonna get apples in 5 years. But why planting an apple seed and you just only have a very small tree? Why a small tree can give you apple fruit? So the king had that questions in mind. Okay, so the Buddha made prediction that when people begin to have shorter lifespan, young people will marry and have kids even they are below 18 years old. Okay, is it happening in your countries as well, that they have pre-teen pregnancy or maybe premature marriage or something like that, that younger adults or maybe teenagers will get married, or maybe they have um, a premature relationship and then they get pregnant or something like that. So this is what Buddha made as prediction in the future from the dream of the king. Okay, so when we listen to this, maybe your mind, it comes across your mind that, well, that's not strange at all. So what's the big deal about this kind of prediction? But again, if you think on the behalf of people in the past, maybe things that are being told by the Buddha, they're completely out of their mind. So they wouldn't expect this to happen in the future. Let's take a look at the third one, okay? The third dream is a female cow feeds on the milk of her own baby. Isn't it strange? Because normally babies will feed on the milk of female cows, right? So this is the other way around. So why bigger cows will have to feed on the milk of little ones? Then the Buddha made prediction that in the future, when a, when a country have bad ruler, people stop respecting the elders, and the parents will live with their children, and for not having anyone to rely on. Okay, so it means that Instead of younger people will respect their parents and will help them, will support them, then the parents need to support the younger kids or their children or something like that. Okay, so the dream number 4, a farmer uses young cows for transportation, abundance, stronger and bigger ones. That's very strange, right? Because if you will have this chariot for transportation, you probably will pick bigger cow and stronger ones. But why a farmer, or this particular farmer, use weaker ones for means of transportation? So the Buddha say, in the future, when a bad ruler leads, people will hire young, inexperienced people for certain jobs, especially judging crimes. They will not be able to work well, and the young people will quit their jobs, and all people will not reapply for the previous jobs, which actually will create chaos in the juristic system, something like that. Okay, so that's the 4th dream. The 5th dream, the horse with 2 heads eat wheat from 2 different containers instead of eating like only one container. Why? And the Buddha make prediction that evil judges, so this happened in the future, not gonna happen in your era, my lord, okay? But evil judges in the future will take bribery from both the defendant and the jurors, and they will decide crimes however they want. Okay, isn't it happening as well these days? Dishonest judges have we seen in our country? Maybe we can think about this, because maybe this is not going to happen in our era yet. Who knows, right? Maybe it's going to be 100 years from now or 500 years from now. But what if, let me ask you, do you have as well this kind of judges in your country? Anyone? Raise your hand. Probably this is happening in our era. Is that? Maybe it could be, right? Or number 6, people encourage a wolf to urinate on golden cup. That's strange. Actually, it's not golden cup. I think the word is a gold cup, a gold plate. So why would anyone want an animal to urinate on a gold plate? Not golden, a gold plate, right? So the Buddha made prediction that good people in the future will not be respected or praised, reducing reputation. So they have to make friends with bad people for the sake of their reputation. So if they become a good person, no one is going to care about them. So they probably will have to be friends with negative people, even though they know that this is not good, so that they can be more recognized. So that's the prediction. Okay. Maybe we think this is not strange at all because we've been seeing this a lot. But it could be really a big deal, especially when we consider that in the past, morality may prosper than materialism, right? They didn't have consumerism, they didn't have, all the computers and technology, but maybe the mind of people were much more honest than the situation in the present moment, I guess. Okay, number 7, a man is making threats and place them near his legs. And hungry female wolf tries to eat the threat without letting him know. So this one, he made prediction that wives do not consider about the money that husband have tirelessly made. They will spend the money for clothes, food, drinks, jewelry, gambling, and flirting behind that back. So it's like the cheating is much higher, than ever before. Maybe in some era where a bad ruler leads. Okay, and number 8, there are huge pots surrounded by smaller pots. Although the large pot is overwhelming, but people still pour water into large pot anyway, leaving empty small pots empty. Okay, And the Buddha say, people who experience poverty because of their evil leaders, they have to work hard for the leaders and not for the sake of a family, which leads to starvation. That's, I think we have seen that recently on some news, right? Number 9, animal drinks water from a large lake which is polluted around the center and clean around the edge. This is actually maybe the opposite to what we normally see in reality, because at the center, usually the water is cleaner and purer. And around the edge of a pond or a lake, the water is more polluted because it's probably next to the bank. But why the animal will drink water from the polluted area, okay? So number 8, the predictions is future leaders will not sympathize their citizens. They will force citizens to pay a lot of taxes, not being able to withstand the heavy tax. Citizens will move to the countryside, so they're not going to actually stay in the crowded area anymore because the taxes are too high. I heard that this is happening a lot in Silicon Valley, maybe in San Francisco, where people cannot afford housing anymore. Yeah, because the big high-tech companies, they actually make the rent very high, right? I heard this from some of my friends who actually are working in those areas. I'm not sure if that's true. Okay, this one, okay, dry bottle gourds, which usually float on water, sank in the water. So something so light that's supposed to float, but now they sank into the water. Why? Because wicked people will get duties of leading a country, and people will start believing in them. It's like those who do not supposed to lead a country, now they have the power, and they will rule the country. And as a result, people have to obey them. Okay, and as well, when people who obey maybe wicked ruler, and noblemen will become poor and no longer have their role in the society anymore. It's like, why you keep being a good person when no one cares about you? Okay, and number 13, I skipped some, all right? A large heavy rock is floating in water. And that's the opposite of the law of physics, which actually a large heavy rock supposed to sink into the bottom, right? So the Buddha made predictions that when wicked people rule, wise people's voice cannot be heard, and they are no longer appreciated. So money, 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 more money you have, the louder voice you have, perhaps. Okay, this one, gold swans surrounded by ravens. Okay, in the future, ruler will not support good people because of their jealousy. So when they see good people, instead of promoting them or helping them so that they can help administer the country, but the rulers will be jealous of them. And they will reward people who don't reserve to you and do not reward people who actually deserve to you. So the Buddha made predictions that only people with wicked mind will become leaders in the future, and good people have no choice but to serve them. Okay, and maybe this is the last one for today. Goats feed on lions, and other animals run in fear when they see goats. Normally, it's supposed to be the other way around, right? So we can see how this actually contradicts reality, that usually lions feed on goats, and other animals we have to be fear of lions and tigers, but now they are fear of goats, and that's actually not in reality at all. So the Buddha made predictions that when wicked people become governors, they will claim the land of good people and deport them. So like they're gonna take their lands and make them theirs. And so good people have to run away from the wicked people, and even monks, good monks, we also have to stay away from bad monks as well. So even in monastic community, there arises some negative monks or bad monks, and they actually disturb people who are good monks. Okay, so what do you think about the predictions? Actually, if we think about it the other way around, and especially the king and his people was very shocked from predictions. And he asked, is this really happening in the future? Because they didn't expect this to happen in the future. They didn't have something like this in their society 2,500 years ago. So it means that maybe we have the advancement in technology, but morality perhaps was left behind in the past. We didn't actually take morality with us with the advancement of technology that we have. So we have a comfortable life, but it seems that how the mind is full of greed, full of anger, and full of ignorance and delusions, they actually will disturb the whole systems, and they make the whole system unbalanced and eventually lead to climate change, as I mentioned a few days ago, and that's probably not very good for the world, right? So these alone are related to humans, and actually the Buddha didn't predict or didn't mention a lot about different other things, but he mentioned solely that when you have wicked leaders, then things will develop into negativity and decline of many different things. So having a good leader is the must. This is emphasized by the Buddha himself. Okay,